Okay, so I'm live here with 52 weeks of Swift, and I'm getting into enumerations today. Still going through the Swift language guide, and I'm going to start off with sharing some code here on enumeration syntax. To start with, if we go and paste some of this in, here we go. You can see that an enum right here says that this is really the flavor of what it looks like. And if we wanted to build this out into exactly some workable code, you can see here that I make this thing have the ability to do case statements. And then what's great about this is that I can, essentially select which one of these fits the case that I need. So let's go ahead and run this. Here we go. We see that this is actually working code. And so you can basically use this as something that can really be a related values or type safe way to deal with things in Swift. And in particular, one of the things that I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and take a look at this planet. We'll go next here and take a look at this. And we see that in this case, I say case Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Uranus, Neptune. There we go. And so how would I actually use this? So in practice, what I would do is actually go through here and put a piece of code underneath here, make a mutable variable var, and then say direction to head. So notice here that I need to go ahead and get the compass point back in there. So let's go ahead and throw this in there and do this. So we're able to basically say, look, I want to create a new direction to head, add in this enum here, compass point, and then I want to select west. And what's nice about this is that I can actually then go through and continue to use it, and I can actually go ahead and select as well. If I go direction to head dot east, I'm also able to set a value using that, because again, remember that this is a mutable variable. So it remembers what it was before, and I can easily just say dot east and change it, which is nice syntactic sugar there. So another thing we can do is you can match individual enumeration values with a switch statement. So if I go back and I paste this inside of here, you can see that it says direction to head dot south. Remember, because this is one of the enum values here that's inside of here, I can mutate this variable one more time and say direction to head. And then I can actually go through here and make a switch statement. And let's go ahead and print this out. Watch out for penguins. And the reason for this is that in this particular scenario here, we know that this has been set using this enum, and we can actually go through here. And if I look at dot south here, dot south prints out watch for penguins. Okay, so really the idea here with a case statement versus if else is that in many situations when you're using some kind of conditional value, it's cleaner, right? Because all I need to do is switch to the logic that I need in a particular situation. So this is one of the nice things about Swift is it has this built-in case statement here. And so let's keep going down here and let's look at the next example. We say let some planet, planet.earth. And remember, this is the enum up here where we see planet, and planet says Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Uranus, Neptune. Perfect. And so I go through here and I say let some planet, planet.earth. And then I can actually do a switch statement here that says .earth here, and we can see that I'm able to actually print out mostly harmless. So kind of nice to be able to use these enums with the case to build very succinct code. I think that's really the main use case for this. So what else can we do? Well, we can iterate over enumeration cases as well. So I'm going to actually just paste this all up here and make some space here. So in this case, I do an enum and I say case.iterable, coffee, tea, juice, and we say let. So in this case, will be immutable, number of choices, beverage.allcases.count. So basically, show me how many cases are actually available, and then this will actually show that there are 3 cases available. So it's what's kind of nice about the enums here is that it not only has the ability to allow you to iterate over it, but because it has these built-in methods available, you can do things like, hey, show me how many items are a part of your iterable. And then if I want to go through here, I can also go through here and print it out and go through this. Um, so it's a pretty neat here. This enum, you can do a lot of, I guess, a lot cleaner code, right? Because this is so tight of a data structure. This allows us to do things like, hey, show me how many values, and then again go through here and iterate it out, and you can see that the results are down here, right? Coffee, tea, and juice. Okay, what about other things we can do? There's something called associated values, and this is something that allows you to, for example, use Swift enumerations to store associated values of a different type. For example, discriminated unions, tagged unions, variants, those kinds of things. And so they're going to give me an example that I'm going to play with here, where we can do a barcode, which is something I could definitely see somebody doing if they're building an iOS app of some kind. If we go through here, I can paste this in, a new barcode. In this case, we can see that I'm able to collect a UPC and a QR code, right? 4 ints and a string. We'll go ahead and run that. And now what we can do is we can create a new barcode, right, using this. So we go through here, and what is nice about this is that it's very tight, the code, right? Very small amount of code here, but it allows me to very easily define a lot of type safety built into this new mutable variable, the product barcode. And so I could see how this could really improve the quality of some kind of inventory control system. And then if I wanted to go again, use that syntactic sugar here and put in product barcode, mutate it, and say dot QR code, right? We can refer to this value, and we can put that in there. So that is a neat little style that they do, again, where you can refer to a aspect of your enum by just using that shortcut. And so what else can we do here? We can actually build out some logic. And so here's an example of the logic next, where we could put a switch statement. Again, it's say we want to do a switch. Here's our product barcode. And we can say that in the case of the UPC, we want to do this bit of logic. In the case of the QR code, we want to do this bit of logic. And so here we go. We can see QR code, ABCD, etc. And so if we want to use all the associated values for enumeration, we can also do that as well. So we go through here and we can see a slightly different iteration of the other example here. So the big difference here is that we are able to, I'm not sure the big difference in this code. I have to take a look at this, but just another case example. So what about raw values here? So a barcode shows the associated values, but what if you want to do the raw values? So if you want to store raw ASCII values, for example, how would we do this with the enum? Go through here. And again, I'll make a bunch of space here so I can get into this. Here we go. Here's some space. And so in this particular case, we can create something called enum called ASCII control character, make a case tab, case line feed, case carriage return right there. That looks good. And we can implicitly assign raw values as well. So here's an example where we do this. We go through and we say new planet and actually set some of the values beforehand. So I guess in this case, I think I'll need to delete the stuff above here because we want to use this for the first time. So in this particular scenario, what's kind of neat is that we are able to um, set one of the values first. And so that is kind of an interesting part of enum. So we can go to another example here. This one is encompass point string, case north, south, east, west, and then we can again do those shortcuts that we were using before. So let's go ahead and do this. We'll do an immutable variable, let Earth's order planet.earth.raw value, which we again use this enum, and then we go ahead and we say raw value, and in this scenario here we can just print this out. We can say print Earth's order. Let's see, what is that? And it's 3. There we go. So the other thing we can do is we can say let sunset direction look at its raw value. We can print that one out, and we can see that value is west. Okay, so what else? What about initializing from a raw value? If you define an enumeration with a raw value type, the enumeration automatically receives an initializer that takes a value of the raw values type. And so here's an example of that. And we can go through here and we say let possible planet. Here we go. Raw value is 7. Pretty interesting. So the raw value initializer is a failable initializer because not every raw value will return an enumeration case. Okay. So if you find a planet with position 11, the optional planet value returned will be nil. So here's kind of a more sophisticated version of this, which we can paste in right here. That position to find, and we put a if statement here and do a switch. So I think one nice takeaway about this is that these case statements really do make code a lot more readable than a very complex if-else statement. There's one other thing you can do with enumerations, and there's something called a recursive enumeration, which is another instance of the enumeration as the associated value for one of the more enumerated cases. So you can indicate an enumeration case is recursive by writing indirect before it, which will tell the compiler to insert the necessary layer of indirection. So that is definitely pretty interesting. So if I go through here and I just delete all this stuff, paste this in, we can see the way you do this is you say enum arithmetic expression case, and then we have an indirect case, and then essentially this is a recursive use of the thing I just defined, which again is pretty interesting. And then you can also write indirect before the beginning of the enumeration to enable indirect as well. So you can also do this. You can make a new one and throw this inside. So yeah, pretty interesting concept here. What else can we do with this? It looks like you can build more recursive functions. So a recursive, you can build a recursive function as well to use these enums. So I guess in a nutshell here, that was what I wanted to cover today, was that section of the Swift language. We'll get into structures and classes next week, but definitely learning a lot by playing around with this Swift code here, and look forward to seeing you again next Tuesday. All right, talk to you later.